Hello. Wait for folks to come in. Super excited to be here. Good morning and afternoon, everyone. My name is Jazzmine Brooks-They. I'm a doula, full spectrum doula here in Central Iowa. I serve the Des Moines area and surrounding communities. I do fertility, birth, postpartum work. I was trained in all of those categories, all of those areas through the National Black Doula Association. So I'm just so grateful to be a part of this community. As it's growing, I welcome those who are recently trained and those who are continuing to do work into supporting families across the world, right? Because we're worldwide now. So I love that. So I'm also a certified lactation specialist and did my certification through lactation resource training and education. So that was really awesome. I got that opportunity through our Department of Public Health and Breastfeeding Coalition. They provided a scholarship. So I tell folks all the time, like, please reach out to your local communities to learn a little bit more about how do you get some of this education for the free. So for those who are not aware, this week is Black Breastfeeding Week, or I also say Black Human Milk Feeding Week, just to honor all the ways in which human milk is provided to families. But this is the 10-year anniversary. Let me just read from my notes here. But we really want to center the journeys of chest feeders, breastfeeders that are in our Black community, and honoring their hard work and their labor, the ways in which lactivists educate and disrupt and agitate the very white spaces that take up breastfeeding support and education. And really thinking about the tradition as a way to help build culture and support around the culture and tradition of Black breastfeeding, to help us even, address the small things as far as bonding between baby and parent, to the big things as far as our Black maternal mortality and infant mortality rates. So if you are unaware of this week, please check out the blackbreastfeedingweek.org, I believe, and they'll have a lot of information there for you to get connected to other events that are happening, not just within NBDA, but across the country. So this year is called the New Foundations. We really think about how do we use collective resistance to address the ways in which the foundations of lactation support is provided. We talk about racial equity, we talk about cultural empowerment, and we talk about community engagement. So those are the big themes for this week. So like I said, Jazzmine Brooks, I'm a lactation specialist. I've been a doula for 3 years. My training anniversary is actually the beginning of September. So I believe I was the first part of the first group to be trained through NBDA. I might be wrong, but I believe I am, and it was just pretty awesome to be a part of that. But thank you all for joining. Just appreciate you for coming on and sharing. Hopefully this is good information, either affirming information or new information for you to share with your clients. If you are chest feeding your baby right now or planning to, I just really encourage you to get connected with any type of lactation educator, lactation consultant, specialist, IBCLC, your doula, right? Everyone that is able to give you evidence-based information, because there's just so information out there. Like, my families get their information from TikTok and Google and what to expect, but like what really works for your family is going to be very important. And I want you to be able to know how to decipher between all the barriers that may come up for you as you go along this journey, whether you're deciding to provide human milk through the chest or by exclusively pumping or any other route. We want to know what resources are out there so that you can have a successful journey. If you are unaware of like where to go and find these resources, they're in your community. You can find IBCLCs at your hospitals, or they might be private space. Some of them take insurances, so you can always ask between the consultants and the IBCLCs. They often can take insurances, and if not, provide you with resources as far as like how do you gain their services, and or providing for free or at cost. So it just depends on what's going on, but you are always welcome to ask folks, how can I pay you, right? Because we want to make sure that the wealth and knowledge is passed and supported between us all. So we're talking about tools today, tips and tools. You see a little bit on the screen here. We're not going to get to them all because like an hour is going to go by really, really fast. So please make sure, if you have the ability to put your questions in the chat. I'll try and like look at the screen as well as talk through these things. But if I don't, answer your question, please repost it when I open up for questions as well. And I'll pause in between if folks have questions. But the first tool is an obvious one, our hands. That's always the ones we forget first. Is like our hands are what we, use. And it could be your hands or your partner or support person's hands. The hands of your nurses and your providers, your consultants, right? Like these are the ways in which it is very important for us to understand touch and supporting folks through touch, and also understanding that touch can be very complicated for people. So if you are have faced any type of trauma, either during your labor and delivery or even prior to as far back as childhood, touch can be very complicated. So we always want to ask for permission before we start grabbing. I also come to this space as a PhD student, and so I read a lot about research. And so research shows that a lot of parents in hindsight don't always want folks touching on them initially when they are starting to latch. And so things that I do with my family is I bring Luna. Luna's one of my little baby dolls that I use to replicate like positions and feeding and those types of things to help mimic the things that I need the families to do. This helps build with empowerment and support and validation and confidence. Particularly as their doula, I've already done the hard work of providing them things to read and watch and learn and engage and have conversations about. And so right when baby's ready to latch, they're really just at this point ready to start enacting the things that we've been talking about. But with our hands, there's so many things, again, we can do with our hands. That's holding baby, positioning baby to have a good latch, soothing baby when we think about skin to skin and how valuable that is. Latching, hand expressing, encouraging lymphatic drainage, particularly if you have severe engorgement, storing milk, pumping, and so much more. So I want to just ensure that we recognize our hands have to be clean, get those fingernails if you have them. And really, what I talk to people about when you wash your hands, like I try and sing the happy birthday song because sometimes we're just washing and going and it's whatever, but to really get that bacteria off our hands, we want to make sure we're at least singing the first stanza and something, whatever, happy birthday to you, right? And then finish washing our hands and drying them with a clean towel. So what we do with our hands as far as a tool, we can hand express. So wave if you know how to hand express. Let's see if we can get some engagement here. Just send a wave if we can know if folks hand express. And really what I mean by hand expressing is the whole process of getting the chest ready, creating pressure, counter pressure on our from our back of our areola and our breast all the way to the front, and expressing milk. So wave or put hearts in the comments if you have ever hand expressed, taught someone how to hand express, or know how to hand express in some way. Okay, we got a wave there. Perfect. Awesome. So big reasons why we hand express, for a couple of things, really to help expressing any milk if your baby was born prematurely or you have had a C-section, whether it's planned or emergency, and really to really get that milk kind of flowing. When I say milk, I mean colostrum, because that's the first milk that we make. We're really looking at any chest engorgement or hardness. So at any point in time when you are think about hand expressing. Sometimes we sense little hardness, so our ducts get a little clogged. So we're going to massage that out and then hand express. Some folks think pumping is great, but if particularly in your first 2 weeks you are not recommended to pump, it's not the worst or bad thing to do, but we want to just like allow your milk to come in as it's supposed to, so that we're not, increasing your chances of oversupply, which is, can be challenging to maneuver around. We also hand express to soften the chest. And I'm going to go back and forth in saying chest and breast because I want to make sure that we understand all bodies can lactate in various ways, and not just women. And so, yes, softening the breast tissue so that we could get baby latched in a really good capacity. When we think about latching, we're thinking about the entire nipple and areola in the baby's mouth. And sometimes with feedings, those things can be hardened, whether it be around the areola, whether you have a large chest where you're having a sandwich completely and all those things are happening. You're also just expressing for comfort. So sometimes baby may only want to latch on one side and not the other. And so really just trying to express that milk so you can feel comfortable, not to completely remove, because again, to make milk is to remove milk, right? That's the big thing we see, is your chest is not a storage container. It is a really great system in place for your baby to talk to your chest to know, hey, I want this type of milk in this way. And that's pretty awesome. As you can tell, I love this work. So yeah, that's me. So first steps is you want to wash your hands like we talked about. You want to position yourself in a very comfortable position. So sometimes with a lot of chairs that we sit on, I wouldn't, encourage you to sit in a very soft space. That's very dim lit, just to kind of get your, relaxation going. If you need extra pillows behind your back, those types of things could be helpful, because what you're really going to be doing is leaning forward. And so the less strain you have on your back, the better. So I try and put like at least 2 pillows in the top back of someone, just so that they can have a little bit of leaning forward. And that's just to help, again, with drainage. We want you to use things like photos, scents, sounds. If you've ever recorded your baby, those type of things. You can look at your baby if they're in the same room and hand express. Anything to remind you of your baby to get that natural oxytocin going, right? Because that's really going to be helpful. The ways in which you're going to hold is C-hold. So if it was on this side, I would hold it here. And this is a C-hold, this is a U-hold, and this is a V-hold. So there's different positions, and I believe one of our another NBDA member is going to be sharing about positions, but I won't get too much in deep with that. But we're just going to hold a C hold here, and you're going to be about 2 inches from your areola area, and you're just going to really squeeze it forward. Now, sometimes folks are like, I'm just going to squeeze in this one area, and you can really damage the tissue and just make it really hard and tender. And so you're just going to want to go around, because some ducts have more milk than others. And so you're really just kind of encouraging. And again, you're kind of squeezing and bringing it forward. Obviously, because this is not a real breast and it's a model, it's kind of hard because this is not actual physical tissue. So it'll be a lot easier. I would encourage you to try, if you've never done this before. It's really great, again, to get those hard knots out of your breast, but really to help in building, again, those things that we talked about as far as softness and, encouraging letdown, those types of things. As you're doing this, you'll use a cup or a collector. Sometimes they'll come like this, or they'll have a lid. You're just going to collect the milk in that area and seal it. This is good out of the body for 4 hours, out of the body and out of the refrigerator for 4 hours. And so always know that you can use these, the milk that you make in different capacities, but just encourage you again, with, this could be a lot for people. And so, when you try it, definitely, you only want to do it for, 10 minutes or so, particularly if you're trying to express to give to your baby in some capacity. And or to, if you're really just trying to do it for comfort, it might be a few moments of pressing, but, again, you're just going to squeeze and pull forward, and you're not going to squeeze from the nipple here, because again, your milk isn't sitting there. Your milk is back here, in the areas there. Okay. So we talked about putting the milk somewhere. And so the next tool we're going to talk about are our bags. They come in different brands. Here we just have a Seal and Go. They naturally have a name, date, and volume just for you to know. Because again, when you're storing, it's going to be important for you to know when you stored it, particularly if you're just keeping it in the refrigerator or you're freezing it, right? So milk bags, when you are using these, you'll want to print out, just a trick I have my families do is have a copy of the storage guidelines on your phone, put it on your refrigerator just for anybody that is coming and helping you with baby or your partner. Folks are going to really easily forget like what to do and how to use these, what to pull out, how much to pull out. And so just know that using the dates and stuff is going to be really helpful. And I'd say just get a marker that you can keep near your refrigerator or on your refrigerator. For freshly expressed milk, countertops are about 4 hours in length to keep these out, again, either in these bags or the cups or the bottles, those types of things. For fridges, it's 4 days. So once you express, you put in the refrigerator, it only lasts for 4 days. And you can freeze it up to 6 months. In a deep freezer, 12 months, just FYI. If you thaw, so you thaw one of these out, these are only going to last on the countertop. So say you just pull it out and put it on your countertop, 1 to 2 hours in length. If you just put it in the refrigerator, you have 24 hours to use it. So again, 24 hours for these in the refrigerator. That's what's going to be really important for you to pull out what you need, not what you think you need. Okay. You can never refreeze an unthawed bag of milk. It's not a thing. Any leftovers, so say you give baby what's in your cup and they didn't drink it all. Again, you got about 1 to 2 hours to feed them with that. So tricks with this, I tell my families, particularly whether you're pumping, hand expressing, you make a ton, right? Which is great. It's not everyone's story. So I want to just be clear, and we'll talk a little bit more later on. It's not everyone's story that you will make a ton. You make what your baby needs. I think it's really important. The concept of I won't make any, I won't make enough. You have to remember your baby's belly is like really tiny. Like particularly when they get out, it's no bigger than a cherry. And then by 2 weeks, it's no bigger than an egg. So you're not providing a lot all the time. Is you're going to want to separate. So say you put about 5 ounces in the bag, right? You'll want to separate because your baby may only eat about 1 to 2 ounces every feeding. And so if you can, because you have so many of these, separate them and then freeze them or refrigerate them in that way so that you're not warming up too much, unthawing too much, like it's just a lot. You can also see if your bags are covered through your insurance. When you get your pump or any type of like materials, your insurance may cover these, and so don't run out and go get them if that's covered. Either buy your insurance and or buy your flexible spending account. So at some point you've put money into a account, and you can get these reimbursed and covered. Hospitals also provide these, so don't leave the hospital without your goodie bag. Sometimes they won't give it to you, they won't offer it to you because they're like, oh, you're fine, but like ask for it, right? Like these are the ways you can build these up. You can also sign up for freebies, so like Medela has some things, Target has things that they'll send to you, Amazon, right? Sometimes these are in there, so like definitely sign up for freebies. When you do your registry, if there's things that weren't bought on your registry, you can get percentage off on extra stuff, and these can be one of them. If you want to skip bags, because again, these are not eco-friendly and they're not reusable in some capacities, use your bottles. And so buy extra bottles, buy those small ones that sometimes come with your pump. You can get extra, again, those are covered through your insurance as well. So make sure you buy more. That way they're already in the bottles. You can put it in the warmer, get up and go, right? All those things are great. And remember, again, your milk is going to change in color and volume all the time, depending on what time you pumped or expressed. These things are always going to look different. They're going to look different in color. If you're sick, all those things, you can still provide milk to your baby, whether you're sick or not, okay? There's some contraindications, so that means that some medications, some infectious diseases, those types of things may prevent you from doing this. Like, for example, if you get a sore, an open sore in your breast, your doctor may tell you a different way of pumping and or feeding your baby, but that doesn't mean you cannot. So always just ask and make sure. But those are the big things, tips and tricks for this. So perfect. All right, my next favorite one is a hand towel. These things are wonderful. They have so many uses. And again, you can do a little bit of hand washcloth or hand towel. Hand towels are great because they're a lot bigger. Big thing for these is that you can use them as warmers to encourage letdown. So you'll just warm this up, put it right on your chest, get that softness kind of going, and then feed baby. It's the cool, so if your gel packs get warm and you don't have any more and you're out, again, you can cool this in a refrigerator or freezer, again, soothing your breast tissue and get up and going, doing those things. You can help roll these up, so with a hand towel it'd be much easier, but you'll just kind of roll this. And for folks with larger chests, it's very hard to see in the first initial couple latches because you're just really trying to figure out what baby's going. And so you actually, roll this up and you'll stick this right underneath your breast. So you lift your breast up and it'll just kind of help angle. Because the big key thing is that your nipple is angled towards the roof of your baby's mouth. And so that towel can serve as that purpose. So just know that you can use one of these. You just kind of put it right again underneath your breast to help raise it up. You can remove any type of lubrication. So if there's certain types of creams and stuff or nipple balms that you may use, that need to be rubbed away. Obviously this can be one of them. Against spills, boob sweats. Again, these are like the best things ever. Baby washcloths can be usable too. So those can be used as nipple pads. Didn't know that, did you? Teething. So again, you can freeze it and have baby use it in their mouth as they're teething. And just know that you do not use these to clean any of your pump tools, just because this can spread bacteria in those areas that really need to be sanitized effectively in order to be used for the next go round. So big tips, tricks for this, again, using in those different capacities. If you all have other ones, please put it in the chat, because again, I'm always open to learning how people use certain things. The next one, your pump. There's different ones. So this is a Spectra. I have a Medela here. There's so many types of pumps. There's hand pumps, there's catchers, which we'll talk about in a minute. There's electric pumps, the hand pumps that you'll be squeezing, and then another electric that will be here that you carry around. And so know that your pumps, find out if your pumps are covered through insurance. Again, we want to use their money because you're paying into it. So whether you are using any type of care, just call and ask, because sometimes they'll tell you and sometimes they won't. It just depends. If you have WIC, it's just important to also make sure you ask for the breastfeeding package, so that your the nutrition value that you would get through your WIC and Medicaid, will be covered as well, and oftentimes can help with just providing more food in your household. So, because breastfeeding parents, chestfeeding parents need more food, right? So big thing is choosing a pump that fits your lifestyle. So if you have an ability to choose the pump that you want, do your research. They're all different and do different things and serve different purposes, can be more portable than others. Some pumps have to be plugged up to the wall. Some have a battery pack. Like, they're all different. So don't assume that every pump is going to do the same thing. You also want to know your flange size. So there's ways to research this. The big thing is that you want to make sure that the area here has enough room, not too much, not too little, between your areola and the way in which it's going and pumping. And so how you know that is once you start pumping, you're going to see how much gap is between your areola. If it's pulling too much in, it's going to not be comfortable. It's going to lead to a lot of sore. size. Also, too, these look sometimes a little hard, and so when people are putting it to their chest, they just don't like it too much. So they come with silicones. I don't have an example right here right now, but they come with a little softer silicone area, and so those aren't in the initial pack, so you have to order those. But just know that you can get things to soften this, and you're really not what you're really not trying to do is like push your breast into it. You'll just want to have it gently sitting there and letting it pump on its own. Okay. Another thing is some pumps have the letdown feature, so that kind of simulates like what your baby will be doing as far as doing those first types of like sucks, so, just rapid sucks that will happen to help produce that letdown. If you're not aware of what a letdown is, folks really just feel it like a tingling sensation. Some feel it more than once, some feel it once. It just depends. If you are unsure about if you have a letdown, it really is thinking about like that big spurt that kind of happens. So when you're pumping or your hand expressing, that's what that letdown looks like. So if you decide to pump, it's good to know for how long, how often, and when you want to pump. Some folks just think you pump and feed baby, or you feed baby and you pump. Like if you're unsure, a consultant can really help you in making that decision of you exclusively pumping to pumping for returning to work, after breastfeeding for so many times. Like there's ways to get your body ready for that. We encourage folks to not pump, in the first 2 weeks, only because it just produces more production, which can lead to engorgement. So we just encourage folks, if they're trying to release more milk, to do the hand expression first. For some families that are going through any type of C-section, those types of things, they can pump for a little bit, and we just put them on a plan. And that's what's just always good, to have a resource, have a plan, those types of things for you to know what's going on with your body. But yeah, pumps are great and a great tool, great resource. You also want to know the best hours to pump. Does anyone know the best time of day that you would get the most volume? Anybody? Let's see if folks will know. Like what hours do we get the most? Let's see. So for folks who are joining, I'm asking, what hours of the day do you feel like you get the most milk when you're pumping? Let's see if anyone knows, and just stick it in the comments. Y'all thinking? All right, so the hours are between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. It's like, who's awake during that time? Well, you have a baby, you are. So if you notice, you're going to make the most milk around that time. So that's really neat. Your body does that. Really thinking about the moments of relaxation and the ways in which, your hormone levels are regulating. Those are the biggest hours that you'll see that kind of happening. And lastly, I'll just say, read your manual thoroughly. You'll want to know how to, sanitize and clean your pump parts, really taking these things apart, right? As you can see with Medela, it's just kind of like this one little delatch, and then boom, part is taken apart. You also want to know what parts are provided to you as far as regular maintenance. And so this membrane valve membrane, that is something that we'll talk about a little bit later, but this part actually is replaceable, and it's through your insurance as well. And you'll just want to download, I have a thing where you can download the How to Keep Your Breast Pump Clean by the CDC. It just kind of shows you, like, for all the parts that the milk touches, like, this is how you want to rinse it, this is how you want to dry it, those types of things, and put it back together. So it's just really simple stuff. Again, this is for folks that feel like it's just a lot to remember. Just print this stuff out so you don't have to remember, and it helps the folks helping you remember it too. Okay. All right. So make sure to put your questions in the chat if you are new to the space. Again, my name is Jazzmine Brooks. I am a doula with J Olive Wellness. I'm here in Central Iowa, and I'm a lactation specialist. So the next one we'll talk about is your nipple shields. So I have a Medela nipple shield here. Just know that, and I definitely recognize the use and purpose of nipple shields, and sometimes they're offered prematurely without doing a good consultation on the breastfeeding parent. And so normally nipple shields are made for preemie babies to kind of help them with the latching and getting the the suction down, and kind of helping them get a strong suck going. And this kind of helps with that, and I'll just have you look at it a little bit. And this is a Medela one. Also, if your baby has a tongue tie or tongue thrust or retracted tongue, this can be fixed and improved over time using this. Really, again, your consultant, your IBCLC, is going to help you in getting a good plan and regimen about like how to use this, how long to use it for. This is also for inverted and flat nipples, or short nipples, right? That can help in pulling the nipple out to help baby latch. Because again, we want that really deep latch that we talked about, again, right over the areola, and it's going to be kind of further down. So more of the breast tissue is going to be at the bottom and in their mouth, right? This is helping to stimulate sucking. It extends the nipple and can help stimulate the roof of the baby's mouth and create a suck reflex. Another way someone can figure out they have a suck reflex is the nurse will, put their finger in the baby's mouth and see what type of suck, again, reflex do they have. If it's strong, if the latch is good, baby will have that using, again, your fingertip. This is also for any sore crack nipples. So as we know, like latching can be atrocious, particularly in the beginning, but again, it's a journey and it's a practice. And sometimes we're not delatching, or, we're latching a lot. And so, your nipples just get sore over time and really raw. And so this kind of helps with that as well. This can also help with letdown, initial flow of milk. Again, you're not using this for a long period of time. Depending on your situation, you want to make sure that you know what your transition will look like from this to without this. So tips and tricks, not all nipple shields are the same. So you just going to the store and buying one is like a nah. All nipple shields are different. They feel different. They have different types of purposes. They have different shapes, sizes, firmness. This is like a little bit more stretchy. It can be used for different things. So it's just recommended that you check out the types to see what actually makes sense for you. You can also check out what to expect. They have like a different list, but again, nipple shields are all different for all different reasons. Does your insurance cover nipple shields? It can. And it's definitely always good to ask whether it's your flex spending account or if it's like something that's provided through your insurance. Just definitely check that out and ask. Oftentimes too, your doctors, so before you get discharged, like they'll have these as well. And so you're definitely welcome to ask. But just know what to expect. And particularly with inverted nipples or flat nipples, I tell people, like, if your nipple is flat and you pull it and it protrudes out, you're good, right? Some folks' nipple don't do that, and so that's what this is for. So definitely get a consultant first before you say, oh, I have flat nipples, I'm not gonna lat. You don't know that until your baby sucks on you, right? Until we put baby on your chest and we know what's going on, all those things can happen. So I talked about different nipple shields. So Medela is good for folks with short nipples. So what you're going to do with this one, because it's flexible, you're actually going to push it out, inside out a little bit. So it's going to look like that. Okay, and then you're going to stick it on your breast like this. And what you should be looking for is that really good limited amount of area between your nipple and... between your nipple and the base of the shield, right? So that's kind of what we're looking for. Because what we don't want is like a ton of space between where your baby latches and where your nipple is, because they're doing a lot of hard work to pull your nipple forward. So we want to reduce that space. And you're just going to snap it on. Obviously, this is not a real breast, so it's not going to snap on completely. But that's kind of what we're wanting to do, is just snap it on there. And I had it backwards. But yeah, it's going to kind of look like this. And again, you see that space in the front. That's really far back, right? We want that all the way forward, at least as close to the front tip of this as possible, okay? This could be misused, and so this can create barriers for your milk. And so as far as the stimulation that has to happen between your baby latching on your breast, this obviously is going to be between that. And so misuses can occur. Again, some folks are given this prematurely, and so definitely ask your questions. Like, what is this for? What are we trying to get at? What are the goals? How long should I use this for? What is my practice of getting and weaning off of this, right? Because that's another thing, is how do you wean off of this? And so you'll want to do things to, again, make sure it's adhered. So if you have trouble with adherence, because again, some of them are not as flexible, you can use things like water or like your nipple butter that you have to kind of help adhere to the breast, so you're not holding on to it, holding on to your boob and your baby. There's a lot going on. You also want to make sure these are cleaned. You'll clean them just like you would clean your pump materials, again, sanitizing. And then fun fact, the sanitizing bags are great, and also they're not FDA approved for sanitizing. So if you're a big stickler on, am I cleaning these things right? You definitely want to make sure, again, by checking with a consultant or just looking at the CDC online. They'll tell you how to sanitize these things properly and how to air dry them, so that there's no moisture either on the tip or around the base, again, to help protect any bacteria from developing. And again, when you're handling this, make sure your hands are clean, the surface that you put it down is clean, all of that, because again, milk can get into it, and again, bacteria can form and all that stuff happening. So just make sure you're cleaning this thoroughly. The best ways to wean baby off this is to transfer this off when the feedings are at its best. So if you notice they're latching really great, so right after that latch occurs, you'll want to remove this and then try and latch them, because at this point your nipples should be protruding enough because it's been sucked out, and you can try that. And again, a consultant can help when processing and making sure those are happening. They also come to your home, so whether the hospital, before you get discharged, go and ask for an IBCLC or a lactation consultant to come to your room if they don't already do that. I tell people, do not leave unless you have a meeting with them before you get discharged and a meeting after you get discharged. Because when you get home, say you've been latching really great, you get home and people are like, this is the worst thing ever, it's not working anymore. Again, it's adjustment. Your baby's having new sights and smells, things get distracting, they're tired, you're exhausted, you're comfortable, all things are happening. So latches are going to ebb and flow. Cool. So wonderful little tool there. All right, next thing. One of my favorites, the haka, or what we call the milk collector, milk catcher, all those fun things. They come in different sizes, shapes. So I have two hakas here. I have the ladybug. That's what it looks like, and has a little opening back here. And then we have the silicone breast pump that comes with a plug. Again, a lot bigger, kind of help you in looking at how much milk you're making, those types of things. But these are great for if you're having like a lot of sore nipples, you're having like a lot of letdown, all that stuff is kind of happening. And these are just helpful to catch milk. There was once upon a time folks were told not to use catch milk. You can use catch milk for a ton of things. Feed your baby, put it in your hair, your skin. Like, listen, the milk is medicine, okay? Put it on baby's knees when they ashy, right? Because we all get ashy. It helps prevent stains. Again, it assists with letdowns, collecting milk before and during feedings. It's very helpful for high producers. So if you've ever fed on one side, you start leaking on the other. That's kind of what's happening, is your body's just producing milk, and that's a great thing. So you can stick this puppy right on that side and keep it going and catch that milk too. But if you are either average or low production, you don't want to use this during a feeding. Again, this is removing some of that milk that baby needs to get. So again, there's different types of milk you make throughout the feeding process. You have the fore milk, you have the your milk that you make, and then the hind milk, right? So hind milk has a lot of nutrients. It's like really high in calories and all this stuff. And so we really want to make sure baby gets that. But if you're overproducer, like that really is just going to be what's flowing out of you anyway. And so we just don't want to catch that in here. And when you transition baby to the next breast, that hasn't been depleted, okay? So just be careful not to use this too much. And when I say that, I mean this isn't a route to produce more milk. So I know folks get nervous about if they are producing enough. Oh, well, I'm not leaking like other people say, so let me just stick this on, let me pump or something while baby's latched to me. No. You can use this after baby's done. So you'll offer the first side, you'll offer the second, and then you can use this for afterwards, whether you are keeping baby to chest. And what's cool is this just attaches to your body. So you just kind of squeeze here, and it'll just kind of make that little weird little mouth, and you'll just kind of stick it to your chest, and it'll just snap, and it's just perfect, right? Same thing with this one. Again, you're going to squeeze, create that suction, again, and then snap, and it'll just stick to you. There's so many different ones, so definitely, again, if the question is this covered through your insurance, find out, see. Sometimes these are just given as gifts for those signups that I was telling you about, because I definitely got a ton from Haka to give to my clients. I'm going to send one to her this week because she doesn't have one. So one that they sent me was the collector stopper set. So they have 2 in there. So I'll be sending her this box tomorrow so that she can get one because she doesn't have one. But just know, like, your newborn side, the size of their stomach is going to vary based off of their age and days and weeks. And so when you're doing this or you're pumping, like, please don't assume that you're going to make, 5 ounces. Like, some people do, but on an average day to day, you're pumping or making at least 5 to 7 milliliters. So that's about 1 and 1.5 teaspoons. Like, that's all you're making. Your baby's belly is really, really tiny. So when you're like, I'm not making enough, get that out of your mind, because you won't see it. It's not something that you'll see completely until your mature milk comes in, which is about day 3, 4, or 5. And depending on if you've had an epidural or you've had IV meds or you've been, using done IV fluids, all of that is going to be a big thing. Question is, how do you find out about the free lactation certification you mentioned earlier? Yeah, so I would say contact, so it's different education, right? So it's peer-to-peer, so like La Leche League, Chocolate Milk Cafe, those are great opportunities. Again, I'm a big fan of Chocolate Milk Cafe, so definitely support that organization and get involved. They do peer-to-peer facilitator training, which is so dope. You also have the Black course that also too has some education and certifications that you can go through there. If you're trying to get certified like as a lactation counselor, sometimes your public health department will offer you a scholarship, either paying in half or full. And then as far as IBCLCs, like mentorship comes with that, which could be free or at a certain cost. So depending on where you're trying to be in this arena is depending on where you go, and depending on how much it costs. So I would say, like, contact your local WIC office, particularly if you are WIC eligible. They are always looking for, peer mentors, and they have trainings and opportunities to help you along the path. Of course, all these other organizations that I mentioned, whether you're doing your CLC or CLS or CLE, right? These are all certified lactation, and then counselors, specialists, educators. Some doula trainings offer community educator training that just comes with it. So depending on who you go through, that could be something that you offer. Of course, so just DM me at J Olive Wellness. It's J-I Olive, like the olive, and then wellness. And I'm definitely supporting, whatever folks are needing. But yeah, that's a really, really good question. And just know, like, there's a lot of gatekeeping that happens. And so if this really is important to you, fight for it. Okay. I have a meeting for folks that are interested in becoming IBCLCs that are Black. I'm starting a meetup because I really need community for myself, and I know other folks do too. So that'll be Tuesday in the afternoon at noon Central Time. So you can go on my site and register for it for free, and we're just gonna come in there and celebrate and have space together, right? Because that's what we need. But again, going back to your baby size stomach, it goes from a cherry to a walnut to an apricot to an egg, right? So like, just know your belly size, your baby's belly size is going to be so different. The next one, nursing pads. Again, some of these come with your pump. It comes with your insurance. It is covered, right? So whether you're using disposable or you're using reusable, there's so many different nursing pads, and again, what they do, different things. They serve different purposes. This is what makes parenting so complicated. So I don't have children yet, but when I do, I'm like, I know so much now that this is going to be really interesting for me. But for my families, it's really complicated because they're like, I bought this and I thought it did this, and it's like, no, they're all different. So they come in different sizes, different thicknesses, different purposes. So like this one is a lot more, you can use this with as a padded bra, and it just goes in your insert as your bra. You know, some bras have inserts. You can have flat ones too that you can get off Etsy. Like, don't be spending a ton of money, because I be telling people, just, you know, if you're trying to be local, get them off Etsy. They're little fancy, nice looking ones that you can use. If you find one, Amazon, do that too. But again, these a lot of them times can be covered. There are disposable ones. Obviously, you don't reuse these. You don't wash these. They just stick into your bra pad. They absorb, and you just remove them. You don't want to keep them on while they're wet, because again, bacteria, you know, boob sweat's a real thing. All that mixed together is just something waiting to happen. So between cracked nipples, soreness, we just want to remove these once they get completely absorbed. These are great for travel, and if you don't have access to cleaning your pads, particularly if you're using these washable ones. They're not environmentally friendly. You know, if you're big on the environment, these probably are not the best ones you want to get. But again, if folks give it to you, it's don't throw them away. Give them out to someone else that may need them, because that's a real thing. That's a real thing. Leaking is a thing. For our reusable ones, they're more cost effective. You can rewash them, change them out, all the good stuff. So that's what's cool about these, is that they can be reused. They have silicone ones. Those don't absorb anything, but they provide gentle pressure to help stop the leaking. So that's a thing if that's something that you feel you need in the moment, particularly if you're out with fancy clothes or you're swimming and you know that like your letdown's a real thing. And it may not work for folks who have like big flows. I've been told that it really doesn't. But yes, this live will be available on their YouTube channel. So yes, definitely check that out. They also have so I said silicone pads, those don't absorb. Homemade pads like handkerchiefs, cloths. Just know that whatever you cut out, use for yourself. If you want to make them yourself and, you know, go to a fabric store, totally fine. Just make sure it's 100% cotton, so that it has the best absorbency. So no polyester out there, people. No polyester. And then they have hydrogel pads. So those are not for leaking either. Those are pretty much soothing and healing any soreness or cracked nipples. So big thing, again, you want to change these as often as you can, particularly when they're really wet. And you want to use barrier methods. So sometimes with a lot of like, you know, between the latching and all that stuff, your nipples just get really sore, and it's like rubbing against all of your clothing and materials. So you can use barrier methods. I'm a big fan of coconut oil. That's just me. But if you have lanolin or anything like that, that's a really good one to use, and then kind of stick these puppies on there to help in protecting your skin. Last ones, I know we're getting at time, nipple butter and cream. So I make a nipple butter for my families. It has about 6 ingredients in here, all natural, all vegan. So you can literally stick this in your mouth and eat it, and it's fine. But really it helps to create barrier methods, help to soften the tissue, help with like swelling and all that stuff. It's just really supposed to help with a ton of things. And with all the latching and unlatching that you're doing, your baby's just snatching at you, right? So we just want to make sure that's moisturized, soft, and like cared for. And so barriers are good. So your doctors will give you lanolin. If you have not found those articles lately about lanolin, just don't work for a lot of people. Creams are just really harsh in some areas, particularly if they have alcohol based. So just check in the back and see what's in there. I tell people, if you can't pronounce what you putting on your body, I wouldn't do it, but that's just me. And so other things you can do is your hind milks. Remember the back milk that we're making, like that's more creamy, thick base. You can use that and put it on your nipples. Some people use their fore milk, and that really is just going to dry it out. So your hind milk is going to be the best part. So get some of that towards the back. Unrefined coconut oil. So again, unrefined coconut oil is big. It's antifungal, it has antioxidants. It helps with strengthening your tissue underneath, right? We think about like not just over the skin, but underneath, right? Because all that suction and pressure is just really good natural base oil and moisturizer. And it removes excess skin. So I just want you to know, like, coconut oil is like grade A. Extra virgin olive oil is good. Again, it has anti-inflammatory. So you're not mixing these oils with anything. It really is just that base. And it's extra virgin olive oil. You'll want to wash that away before you latch baby. Again, with that oil, extra virgin olive oil, you want to wash that away. Again, using all your good stuff that you were taught earlier in the video. And then if you are someone who is interested, Manuka honey, that's a new thing. Do your research on it. Talk with your consultant about it. But that's a new strain of resistance of bacteria. But again, you're going to find so many different things. So check with your consultant just to make sure your baby has, you know, a really good tolerance for things, and how to like check for that before you put anything on your skin and body. Whatever you put on your nipple goes in your baby's mouth. So like you need to know what's in it before you latch your baby. And you'll want to wash that honey away too, because that can't stay. If you are plant-based or vegan, there is a website called ecofriendlyparent.ca. They will give you options for vegan and plant-based nipple balms, nipple butters that are really good and healthy for your baby. And again, I say I make them, so you can go on jolivewellness.com and you can order them as well. And I can just ship it to your home. So honorable mentions, membrane valves. Again, these are very, very important tools. It helps to your pump work. Baby wears. So I have 3 honeybees here. This is a ring sling. There's so many different ones, but kangaroo care is really, really important and helpful when you are breastfeeding. You can cover up, you can latch baby while baby is in the carrier, no matter what carrier you use. There is a way to carry your baby and latch. I highly recommend Chocolate Milk Cafe National. They have support groups around baby wears, around latching. They have an Unsplash course as well, where they teach new parents before baby gets here all the ins and outs of breastfeeding. And they have a ton of Black IBCLCs. Like, come on, let's go, right? That's what we want. Representation, people. Nursing pillows. Again, those come in different shapes, sizes, and purposes. But I would say a good tip and trick is making sure that any pillow that you use allows your baby to be nose to nip. And so you shouldn't be leaning towards your baby. You should be bringing your baby towards you, right? And so however we need to lift baby up using any pillows. Sometimes that nursing pillow isn't enough. You need to get some of those other pillows. So it is okay to raise your baby up to your nip. Baby should not be searching for where your nip is. It should be right here. We right here, okay? Bottles and nipples, honorable mentions. So these are important to recognize that, particularly when you're breastfeeding, you'll want to get, it's got all this like lint everywhere, it's like floating here, a nipple that makes sense for your breastfeeding journey. So what you don't want is a nipple that will create a straw-like suction for your baby, because that means they're going to be piercing their lips down, clamping down, and that is just not what's happening when they're breastfeeding, right? When they're chest feeding. So you'll want a nipple similar to Dr. Brown's where it gradually gets wider as you go down the nipple. So that allows for that big gape to continue to happen, the piercing of just here at the cheeks, and that rocking motion that we want to see in the flange lips. So that's what we're looking for with any nipples. You'll also want to make sure that if baby is leaking or gulping any air, and you'll notice that because there's going to be openings on both sides of the mouth, that means that nipple is not really good for their suck swallow. So when you notice baby comes here and then gets on the boob, some things are happening and changing. So we want to make sure that we're rotating between these, that they're not getting confused. And I'd say it's not nipple confusion, but flow confusion. So it's a good thing to learn about pace feeding. So you're not angling the bottle in the baby's mouth and they're just kind of swallowing it, but you're really just kind of making sure that only the tip of this has milk in it, because that's what the flow looks like, okay? So again, you want to know about bottle nipple size and shape, and you also want to know about pace feeding, and you can look up that on YouTube. But that's all I have. I know we only have like 4 minutes, but I welcome any questions. Hopefully I got to everything that was helpful to you all. Oh, last thing, stay on your prenatal vitamins, because that's very important for nutrients. But yeah, I welcome any questions. I got to everything. That's exciting. I was wondering if I would. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the affirmations. Awesome. Thank you. And again, check out your local, there are some support groups out there. There's ones from Lactation, WIC, all that. What brand? There's so many different brands of prenatal vitamins. I take the gummies because I just have a hard time swallowing, but I also did my research on just what my body needs and what's in here. But you want to make sure that you at least have good DHA in your vitamins, and folate, not folic. Folic is a different type of folate, right? It's a synthetic, and so you want to make sure it's folate on the back of the bottle, okay? But this is Garden of Life, My Kind gummies. And so I take this. I take a probiotic. What do I take? Yep, still Garden of Life. We just Garden of Life people up in here. But I just like theirs because it just doesn't make me nauseous. Share first in a few weeks. It's really, yes, absolutely, definitely, yes. And if you're a doula, build up your resources so that, like, with videos and stuff like that, so folks can just, like, go straight to it. That's a recommendation as a doula myself. Is it gets really challenging. Like, what did I give who and what did we talk about? Like, just give them access to some good stuff. Yeah, Garden of Life. Yes. It's good. It's good stuff. Keeps you regulated. If you ever want to talk about poop, I am big on, did you poop today? What did you eat? What did you eat? Did you poop after you ate? Right? Because we really want to get people to poop. That helps. Dispelling anything in the body is very important. That means our body is regulating and doing what it's supposed to do. Yes. Welcome. Okay, I see you, Detroit. Welcome. So yes, this video will be saved later. You are welcome to connect with me. Again, Jazzmine Brooks with J Olive Wellness, J-I Olive Wellness. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Just appreciate the time spent with you all, and willing to be in community. If you are interested in, joining lactation work either as an activist or an educator, I'm hosting an event on Tuesday, for folks to just meet up and engage around these hard topics of getting to IBCLC status. But yes, thank you all and have a great Sunday. Appreciate you.